Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're breaking down a case so catastrophic it sounds like a nightmare scenario from a textbook, but it's 100% real. We're talking about the death of 70-year-old William Bryan during what was supposed to be a routine splenectomy. That's right, a routine removal of a spleen. In a shocking turn of events, the surgeon allegedly removed the patient's liver instead of his spleen, leading to Mr. Bryan's death on the operating table. This case is a perfect storm of legal jeopardy. Today, we're looking at how one single act can trigger three entirely different branches of law: administrative, civil, and criminal. Part 1: the executive branch and medical licensing. First, let's look at the executive branch. In Florida, the Department of Health and the Board of Medicine control your right to work. They don't send you to jail, but they can end your career. Fo- Following the death of Mr. Bryan in August 2024, Florida authorities moved to revoke Shaknovsky's license. Once Florida acted, Alabama and New York followed suit. This is reciprocal discipline. If one state determines you are too dangerous to practice, others use those findings to revoke your credentials there as well. As of his recent arrest, the former surgeon was reportedly working as a Lyft driver. Now, part 2: the civil law. Medical malpractice. Next, we have this civil lawsuit. This is where the victim's widow, Beverly Bryan, is suing for money damages. So, what is medical malpractice? It occurs when a healthcare provider breaches the standard of care, failing to do what a reasonable, prudent provider would have done under the same or similar circumstances. What happened during the surgery of Mr. Bryan was what we call a never event. Removing a liver on the right instead of the spleen on the left is a classic never event. These are sometimes called sentinel events. The lawsuit accuses Shakinovsky of wrongfully omitting any reference to the liver in his notes to hide his gross negligence. This isn't the first allegation against the doctor. In 2023, he allegedly removed a patient's pancreas instead of an adrenal gland. Now, the adrenal gland sits on top of the kidney. The pancreas is an organ that you can find on the left side under the bridge of the liver, close to the stomach. Sometimes it's midline, but the pancreas is not the adrenal gland, and the pancreas is not attached to a kidney. Let's take a look at a patient's abdomen, and let's look at Shaknovsky's defense. He was saying that the room was chaotic. There was a bleeder. There was blood. And the blood and the chaos made him disoriented. But take a look at the screen. The spleen is tucked under the ribs on the left-hand side of the body. It's a small organ, usually weighing less than 15% of a liver. The liver is anchored on the upper right side. It is big. It is massive. It has multiple distinct lobes. Shaknovsky claimed he expected as a diseased spleen double the normal size. However, the medical examiner found that the spleen was actually near normal. As a lawyer, I'd ask, how do you accidentally cross the entire midline of the body and mistake the largest organ that a person possesses for a small one, especially when you admit that you learned the difference in junior high school science class? It brings up the question, how do doctors and nurses and hospital staff prevent wrong site surgery cases? Modern medicine has surgical safety checklists to prevent wrong site surgery. These are multiple layers of protection, and in this case, all of them had to fail. The first thing that we see is repeated questioning of the patient. From the intake to pre-op, every staff member is supposed to ask the patient their name and what procedure they are undergoing to ensure total clarity. We also have site marking. Before sedation, the surgeon should physically mark the surgical site with a permanent marker. Next is the timeout. Right before the first incision, the entire OR team must stop to verify the patient, the site, and the procedure out loud. And in this matter, you have an intraoperative problem, and the general rule is you never ligate, transect, or remove a patient's anatomy without first making sure that you've identified the proper organ, vessel, muscle, tendon, or ligament. And the other thing that we have in this case is the idea of pressure. According to news reports, Shaknovsky allegedly convinced the couple that this was an emergency that couldn't wait for them to return home to Alabama. And in an emergency scenarios, these vital safeguards are often rushed or ignored, and that can lead to disaster. And now let's talk about the criminal implications that we see in this case. Last month, a grand jury indicted the doctor for manslaughter. He has pleaded not guilty. In Florida, to get a conviction for manslaughter, the prosecution must prove a term culpable negligence. See, culpable negligence is not simple negligence or medical malpractice. This isn't just a mistake. It's a course of conduct showing a reckless disregard for human life. Is there a smoking gun in this case? Well, there may be, and that may play out for the prosecution, and it may play out in the medical malpractice case. After the error, the doctor allegedly told a nurse to label the liver as a spleen. The prosecution will most likely argue this wasn't just a distraught doctor. It was a surgeon who realized that he made a fatal error and tried to document his way out of it while the patient was dying. So, back to the initial question, back to the title of this video. Is it medical malpractice? Is it manslaughter? Or is it both? In the law, they aren't mutually exclusive. He lost his license, probably his savings, and his freedom for the same surgery. Does chaos in the OR excuse mistaking the body's largest organ for a smaller organ? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I am Guy DiMartino, and I am meeting you at the intersection of law and medicine. Have a great day.